Hello, welcome back to Survival Saturday with Johnny Tiger. The date is October 15, 2022. Kitten has left to go back to California, and the house seems very, very quiet. Too quiet. She's only been gone for a few hours, and yeah, I miss her a lot. Okay, it's a little bit unmanly to say so, but hey, I'm very secure in my masculinity. I can say I miss my counterpart. That's okay. Especially now that making video, I miss my little helper here helping me either hold the camera or with demonstrating moves. Speaking of demonstrating moves, one of my good friends earlier asked me what's the difference between things like Taekwondo and Karate, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so on and so on. So I thought it, I have done almost, well, actually over 1,000 videos on this channel, but I have not actually addressed that because sometimes as someone who's been doing martial art for 30 odd years, we kind of take it for granted. Like, like if you've been cooking for a long time, you kind of take it for granted someone would know the difference between a head of broccoli and a head of cauliflower and a head of cabbage, right? So you don't take it into consideration. Well, people who don't really work in the kitchen, they might not know the difference between a carrot and a turnip. So, as much as it may be obvious to some of you, today we are going to do a little show and tell, little demonstration of various different modalities that I personally trained in, practice, and teach. Um, Now, I want to take this chance to say, again, I've said this before, I'm by no means a master of every martial art, or even the ones I'm going to show you today. I'm not a master of all of them, but I know enough about them to know a little bit about what I'm talking about, to know what I'm teaching. I know enough about them, so if I run into someone who uses these martial art in a fight or in the sparring or in the tournament, I know what I'm expecting. I know what to expect. And that's basically what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to talk you through a little bit about these different martial arts because I imagine to people who don't know martial art at all, uh, things like Taekwondo and Aikido and Ninjutsu and Jujutsu just sound like a foreign language, which they are. I mean, a lot of these are Japanese and Chinese or combination of the two. So let's get it going. It's not going to look super pretty or super professional because I mentioned this before. My tripod's broken, so I actually have to rig up a camera stand to do this. So I'm not even sure if this is filming properly. Number one, let's take a look at Taekwondo. I always say Taekwondo is ideal for a beginner martial art. It promotes balance and uh, flexibility, and it really gets that good foundation into your footwork, especially for children and women where upper body strength may not be the primary line of defense. Taekwondo primarily we use legs, and also Taekwondo promotes a longer reach than a lot of other martial arts. So what is Taekwondo? Taekwondo is essentially the art of kicking. Like that. No hand. There are some hand techniques in Taekwondo, but a lot of what you will be seeing is high arcing kicks like that. Obviously, like I said, for you to be able to throw out kicks like that, you have to have very decent flexibility, balance, and all that stuff. At the advantage is if you can do this very well, then you have a good chance of kicking someone before they can grab you, before they can get to punch you in the face. Now, while most people today think Taekwondo is largely useless in the fight, and even I myself spoke about that before, a lot of time Taekwondo fighters they don't defend themselves very good. The reason of that is most of the Taekwondo we see today are Olympic level Taekwondo. Olympic style Taekwondo is about how good you look. The better you can perform those high kicks, the better you'll score points when you're competing. However, Taekwondo has not always been like that. Uh, there's another branch of Taekwondo that is more street level and military style. For example, when I learned Taekwondo, we never concerned ourselves with a lot of high kicks like that. When I was learning Taekwondo, we were more concerned with if someone was reaching out to grab me, how I can grab the hand and kick the elbow joint and pull the hand and kick the arm again and then bring my knee across the arm to break it like that. That's the kind of Taekwondo I learned. Okay, so if you are interested in using Taekwondo for self-defense, it's not that it can't be used for self-defense. It's you need to know what you're learning. Number two, karate. Karate is an interesting one because there's many different styles of karate. Almost like we'll talk about kung fu in a little bit. Uh, Karate is like kung fu. It's not one martial art. It's a group of martial arts. So depending on the karate you get into, you're going to look very different. But almost without failing, karate teach you how to use your hand. So rather than those big long range kicks that we do in taekwondo, in karate, you will be looking at something more like this. So a lot of very explosive hits to the body, hit to the arm, hit to the leg, hit to the head. Head is not allowed in competition, but in a self-defense situation, totally, yeah, go for the head. Karate is a martial art that good for people with good upper body strength and arm strength, um, and people who don't mind getting in there, maybe taking a few hits themselves, if they can dish it out and overpower their opponent with their raw power in their hand, blades, or their punches. There's some kicking technique in karate as well, but not as elaborate as taekwondo. Depending on the style of karate, it's good for self-defense. However, many karate schools focus a lot on ceremony, tradition, competition, so they neglect the self-defense aspect. This is why a lot of karate fighters they can take a lot of abuse to the body, but the moment you hit them in the face, they go down crying. Now, let's look at kung fu. Like I said, Kung Fu, a lot of people think it's one martial art. People think Kung Fu is a Chinese martial art. No, Kung Fu is not the Chinese martial art. Kung Fu is the name for all Chinese martial arts. Depending on what you're doing, which style of Kung Fu, it can look very different. For example, people from the Dragon style Kung Fu do a lot of very big, powerful, full body movement. When they punch, a lot of time it's full body, throw the whole body into it, both fists at the same time, snapping the fist into the opponent. When they swing their arm, it's a lot of really big both-handed swing for dragon style kung fu. For snake style kung fu, for example, it's a lot of weaving, weaving up the person's arm. When the person reach for me or swing a fist toward me, I weave in, and as I'm weaving my arms through there, tangling them up, my finger is going for the eyes. My finger is going for the throat. That is snake style kung fu. Crane style, the white crane style kung fu, one of my personal favorites, relies a lot on defensive fighting with explosive counter movement. So crane style kung fu, we go back to looking a little bit like taekwondo. You are balancing on your feet. Sometimes you'll stick out one foot. If the person tries to walk towards you, you stick out a foot, put your foot against their knee so they can't come forward. And then whenever they move, you move. You're always moving, dancing from one leg to the other leg. Your hand nice and relaxed, open, like the wings of a white crane. And whenever you see an opportunity, you go in and take them down. That is the white crane. And then, of course, there's the Wing Chun. Wing Chun is a modern self-defense style of kung fu. People who watch Bruce Lee and uh, those modern kung fu movies, you'll recognize mostly Wing Chun is characterized by the super fast repeat punches that you would start from away from your opponent, but anytime you get an opportunity, you move in like that. So that basically is several styles of kung fu. And like I said, kung fu is a whole group of Chinese martial art. So don't think that someone says they know kung fu. That no, don't automatically assume that they know what they're talking about. Judo. Now judo is one of those things that is going to be very hard to show without a real person here. But I'm going to do my best. Um, we'll grab this. Imagine this pad is a human body, right? This is my opponent, my enemy, the person who's attacking me, right? So the whole point of judo is once I engage with a person, how can I use their momentum to throw them to the ground? Right? How can I step in, grab the person, and throw them over my shoulder? Right? How can I grab the person around the shoulder and trip them and throw them to the ground? That's judo. Judo is all about taking down, throwing someone. And even though it looks very gentle when I'm doing it to a pad, when you do it to a real person, if you have ever gotten thrown before, you know that it does a lot of damage. And sometimes just one good throw, when the person lands, going to break an arm, break a rib, break their neck. That's judo. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, I've definitely covered a lot of that on this channel, but let's incorporate that too. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in a nutshell, is the art of how to fight on the ground. So, rather than standing, which is not very useful,